What's up, hoes? You know what a great time it is to put on makeup? You know what a great time to put on makeup is? 10:19. A fantastic time. I have nothing better to do. I'm awake, I'm here, and today I am bringing at you guys a review on the blendiful, the Tati Beauty blendiful, this little fuzzy guy right here. So this isn't like a first impressions necessarily because I've used it a couple times, but some people have been asking me how I like it, and I'm sort of like iffy on it, so I thought, like, you know what, might as well just make a video on it and show you guys how it works, how I use it, like pros and cons on it essentially. So I'm gonna dive into it. So first I will use a corner of this and go in with a primer. I'm gonna be using the e.l.f. Putty primer because it's sort of my favorite right now. I've never used the Tatcha one that everyone like says it's a dupe for, because I'm not made of money, unfortunately. So I already know that this does a pretty good job at spreading primer. You just sort of like pat and drag. Like, you can do both with this blendiful, which is, I find, is really nice. The only thing is that it doesn't feel like it's taking absorbing product, but it sort of is. It's more so than if you were to just rub it in with your fingers, which, I mean, I feel the product all over my face, but I would feel it more if I had just rubbed it in with my fingers, if that makes sense. I'm going to be using a higher coverage foundation. This one's super high coverage. I actually don't even think I need the rest of this, but I have it, so. Okay. I have a pug hair on my face. If you guys have pets and they shed, you know that sometimes I'll just find hair like in my hair, like my dog's hair in my hair. So what's great about this is that you can pat like so. It's so full coverage. And then you can also drag like this as well. I originally liked the idea of the blendiful because of how easy it is to use. I love that you don't have to wet it. You don't have to do anything prior to it for it to work. Because honestly, sometimes you just have to, you're on the go and you just have to go. I don't have to wet anything. I don't have to get up and go to the sink, and you can just throw the blendiful in your bag and no streaks. If you do see a streak though, you can just pat like that. I'm not gonna lie, it is pretty seamless. I'm gonna go in with contour and show you guys how I do that with the blendiful. And I love that you can fold this guy any way you want. It's really flexible, but there's still got some bounce to it. Funny story, one time I totally forgot about blending out my jaw contour, and I just walked out with just this huge brown streak on my jawline, so that was cute. It blends it pretty quickly, like, and you don't have to be super gentle with it either. You can drag, which is, I think the dragging part is what is the part that makes it faster, because with a sponge, if you drag, the moisture in the sponge might mess with your actual base and product. So far so good. And then you can even, I'll go in with a concealer now. Let's see. Like, I think this is perfect for someone who really doesn't have time to get ready or can just needs to throw it in their makeup bag, or even when you're traveling, so that you don't have to bring like a foundation brush, a blush brush, a contour brush, a bronzer brush, you know, a highlighter brush. You can really use this because you can even powder with this too. You can use it for pretty much every step of your makeup except for maybe your eyebrows and your eyeshadow. I mean, that would be a fun challenge to do, but it is super seamless. So you can really just throw this in your bag. And what's great is that you just wash it, leave it on the sink, or I mean, leave it next to the sink, leave it anywhere, and it will just dry overnight. However, I do have one issue, and that issue is I've used this maybe 4 times. I think this is the 5th time I'm using it, and I didn't even wash it that many times because I've used it. I think I maybe washed it like twice in the 4 times that I've used it, and there's already a hole in it, which is super, it's just frustrating because you're paying $18 for this guy for its little partner, but I don't really use this to apply makeup. To be honest, don't use this at all. I think it's cute. It's a little bit more firm, and I know that Tati paired these two together because she wanted one to be like on the go with you so that you can do touch-ups like this, and I'm here for it. I don't know, I just don't really, like, I haven't done that yet. Like, I haven't thrown this in my bag and been like, oh, I'm gonna use that later. I've thrown this in my bag though. I don't know, like, it gets the job done, but if you're gonna throw this in there, you might as well throw that in there, you know, or buy 2 of these and throw this in there, because it's not even, it doesn't take up much space. Essentially, for me, it feels like I just paid $18 for this. I feel like if this is pretty much a glorified powder puff, and if you're gonna make a glorified powder puff, it better withstand a few uses, and mine already has a hole in it. And I don't abuse this thing. I wash it totally like how normally, like how she says to, and I've only washed it twice, so it's not, hasn't even gone in like the wash. I hand washed it and didn't put it in a machine or anything like that, and it's already sort of falling apart, so that's a little upsetting. I'm just gonna grab some bronzer. You can pat your bronzer in like that. So I love that. Let me do the other side of my face. I can even try and contour my nose with this slightly. Like bend it and just dab. And then go in like that. Come on. That actually worked out better than I thought. Oh, shut up. I'm gonna come out with a tutorial on how I contour my nose, but this is sort of like my lazy way of doing it. But that's the whole point of this thing, is that it is perfect if you are lazy or you don't have that much time, you're on the go. And for blush and highlighter, it's the same concept. Dab. I would say that it does take some of the product, as you can see, but it's not so much to the point where I feel like I'm losing a lot of product, if that makes sense. But it soaks up more product than I guess a brush would. It's nowhere near as absorbent as like a sponge. And same with the highlighter. Grab a highlighter and put that sucker right on there. I'm gonna do the rest of my face off camera, and then I will come back and talk to you guys about my thoughts and whether or not I think it's worth the purchase. Okay, I'm back and I have some final thoughts on the blendiful. I think if you are someone who is on the go all the time, say you don't have time and you're a type of person who does their makeup in the car. I had a coworker who would always do her car in the makeup. I mean, a coworker who would always do her makeup in the car, and I saw her setup where it was just like she had places where her brushes were, and they were fairly organized, but can you imagine just not having to fuss with any brushes and just having this where you can do your foundation, your concealer, your contour, your bronzer, your blush, your highlight. Like, I doubt if you're that busy you're doing all those steps, but this cuts down on that significantly because the fact that you don't need any other brushes except this. That's actually something personally that I love doing. I used to travel a lot for work. I actually have one example of where this would have been extremely handy. I was on my way to Vegas. It was my birthday, and there was a bunch of traffic, and by the time we were going to get there, I already had to have my face ready and everything because I was going to just throw on my dress and we're going to go to the club. In that instance, I had to pull over and take my beauty sponge and get a water bottle and wet it. And the reason why I brought the beauty sponge instead of like a bunch of brushes was because I could do multiple steps with the sponge as well, except I had to wet it first. And say if I had this, didn't have to pull over, wouldn't have to wet it. And if you find that appealing, I think it is worth giving it a try. It's super user friendly. I think it's pretty intuitive the way you use this. You can fold it however way you want it. You can even flip it and use the other side for a clean side. I like that you have more control because you're physically pressing it this close to your face, whereas with the brush you're further away from your face. So my only vice with this is that it seems to be a lot for $18. I don't use the small one for anything, so if she just sold this for maybe like price for one of these sponges, sorry it's dirty, at like Target is like $7 or $8, I think the last time I checked. If this was around that same price, I'd buy a ton of these. I'd have it in every purse. I'd use it every single day. So performance-wise, I think it does well. I think it's fun, it's innovative, it's new. There's nothing else like it in the market. I mean, there's a powder puff, but she sort of like revolutionized the powder puff to make it more modern and make it more user-friendly and make it just like a higher quality of fabric. Like this one actually has like these hairs, like these fibers that allow your makeup to go on seamlessly. So I get that there's going to be a price increase with that, but if this was just a little bit less and she ditched the mini version of it, I don't need that. I would be in love with this. I feel like it's a little unacceptable to have an $18 sponge just, it's like, what? I mean, I guess this is an easy fix. I can probably just sew it, but it's like, I shouldn't have to. It's really up to you guys if you guys obviously want to buy this and try it out. I personally think if you are a makeup lover and you love buying new tools and buying new things to add to your makeup routine, I think it's worth buying just to experience. If you don't have the money to spend $18 or whatever it is to spend on this, don't. It's not so revolutionary to the point where you're like, this has changed the game forever, because at the end of the day, what works for you works for you. I think it's fun. I think it's new. I think it's worth trying out if you can. But if you can't, you're not missing out on a whole lot, is what I'm trying to say. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I will see you guys on the next one. Bye.